I'm saying a big howdy to everybody out there as we get started with writing equations with variables on both sides. So let's flip up our tab for example 1, and underneath that you'll see the word problem of members of the Wide Waters Club pay $105 per summer season plus $9.50 each time they rent a boat. Non-members must pay $14.75 each time they rent a boat. How many times would a member and a non-member have to rent a boat in order to pay the same amount? So, they're comparing two different things here. They are talking about the member and the non-member. So we're going to write two separate expressions. We need to write an expression for how much a member pays. And then we also need to write an expression for the non-member. So if we look at the member, for member it says that they pay $105 per summer season plus $9.50 each time they rent a boat. So when they come to rent a boat, they have to pay $105 up front. Then each time they rent a boat, they have to pay $9.50. So that's $9.50 times the number of times that they rent a boat. So that's how we could calculate how much it would cost for a member. Now let's figure out how much it would cost for a non-member. It says for non-members that they will pay $14.75 each time they rent a boat and nothing more. So for a non-member, if we want to write that expression, it is just $14.75 times the number of times they rent a boat. They want to know how many times would a member and a non-member have to rent a boat in order to pay the same amount. Same amount means equal. So that means we're going to take our 105 plus our 950t and set it up equal to what a non-member would pay, which is $14.75 times the number of times. Now what we're going to do is we are going to solve for t. So again, we have to get our variables on one side of the equation. Since 1475t is on the right side all by itself, then we need to move the 950t. Since that's a positive 950, we're going to subtract 950t from both sides. Now when we subtract 950t from both sides, we're left with 105 equals $5.25 t. If you don't have a calculator sitting next to you, you might want to grab a calculator or your phone. Just a straight, simple calculator is all you need tonight. Now, in order to get t by itself, we would divide by $5.25 on both sides. And because I have used my nifty calculator, I know that t is going to equal 20. And that means that they would have to rent a boat 20 times in order for the members and non-members to pay the same amount. And moving right along to example 2, it says the charges for 2 shuttle services are shown in the table. Find the number of miles for which the cost of both shuttles is the same. So with Easy Ride, you have to pay a pickup charge of $10, plus you get charged 10 cents per mile. With the Best Company, all you pay is 35 cents per mile. So again, we need to set up our expressions for Easy Ride, and then we need to set up our expression for Best. Okay, for Easy Ride, they have to pay $10 just to pick it up, plus 10 cents per mile. Per, remember, means multiply. Then best, we don't pay any pickup charge, but you're paying 35 cents per mile. They want to know the number of miles for which the cost of both shuttles is the same. Same is our keyword. Same means equal to. So we take our 10 plus 10 cents M equals our 35 cents M. Now, again, we have to get our variables on one side of the equation. Since 35 cents M is on one side all by itself, then let's subtract our 10 cents M from both sides. And that way, we have the variables on one side of the equation and the constant on the other. So now we're left with 10 equals 25 cents M. And again, in order to get M by itself, we have to divide by 25 cents. And now when you do that on your calculator, you should get that M equals 40. So that means that you would have to travel 40 miles in order to pay the same amount at each company. Now for example 3. This is a multi-step problem. It's asking us two different questions. It says Rapid Rental Car charges a $40 rental fee, $15 for gas, and 25 cents per mile driven. For the same car, Capital Cars charges $45 for rental and gas and 35 cents per mile. So we need to find our expressions for each company. So we have Rapid Rental Car, I'm just going to call it Rapid. And then we have Capital Cars. I'm just going to call it Capital. Okay, for Rapid, it said $40 rental fee, $15 for gas, and 25 cents per mile driven. Okay, when you look at that expression, can it be simplified? Yes, we can simplify it because we have like terms. We have two constants. 40 plus 15 would give us 55. So we have 55 plus 25 cents M. Now for Capital, it says Capital Cars charges $45 for the rental, and the gas is included in that $45, and also 35 cents per mile. So it says for how many miles is the rental cost at both companies the same? So again, we set up our equations equal to each other. So we have 55 plus 25 cents M equals 45 plus 35 cents M. We want to get our variables on one side of the equation. So I'm going to, doesn't matter which one you move, I'm just picking 25 cents M. Since it was a positive, we have to subtract 25 cents M. So now when I subtract, I have 55 equals 45 plus 10 cents M. So now, what are we going to do to get M by itself? Well, next we have to subtract 45 from both sides. When we subtract 45 from both sides, we now have 10 equals 10 cents M. Remember, when you plug it into the calculator, if we want to solve for M, we've got to divide by 10 cents. Don't forget that decimal point, because that will change your answer drastically. When you do that, you are going to get an answer of 100. So therefore, up here on A, the answer to the question is 100 miles. And we found that out right here. Okay, now the next question says, what is the cost? Well, in order to find out the cost, we're saying it's 100 miles. So now we can take either expression, it doesn't matter which one, and plug in our 100 for M. So I'm just going to take 55 plus 25, and then in place of m, we're going to put 100, because that's what we found out that m equaled. So now if we take and we or do order of operations, we have to do multiplication first. So take your 0.25 times 100, which what that does is it moves the decimal point 2 places to the right, which gives you 25. So now 55 plus 25 gives you $80. So what is that cost? And that would be $80. You could have plugged it into 45 plus 35 cents M and gotten the same thing. It'll give you $80 as well. So our last problem incorporates geometry into this solving equations with variables on both sides. It says the perimeters of the rectangles shown are equal. What is the perimeter of each rectangle? So when we're talking about perimeter, we need to be thinking about the actual formula for perimeter. The formula for perimeter is P equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. And I'm going to label my rectangles. This one's going to be rectangle 1, and this one's going to be rectangle 2. So for rectangle 1, let's plug our dimensions into our formula. So 2 times the length, so that would be 2 times n plus 6/10, plus 2 times the width, which is n. Now when we have a number right outside of parentheses, that means that we are multiplying, but we have two terms inside, so therefore we have to do distributive property. So here we are going to say 2 times n, which is 2n. Now we say 2 times 6/10, and that's going to give us 1 2/10. Now we say 2 times n, which is 2n. When we look here, we have like terms, so we have to combine our like terms. 2n plus 2n will give us 4n. So we have 4n plus 1 2/10. Now let's go to our second rectangle. Again, we're going to plug in to our equation. Perimeter equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. And when we plug this in, we're going to have 2 times n plus 1/10 plus 2 times 2n. So now, since we have a number right outside of parentheses, we have to do our distributive property again. So if we do our distributive property, we now have 2n plus 2/10 plus, now 2 times 2n gives us 4n. And here we have like terms again. We have 4n and 2n, which now gives us 6n plus 2/10. Now, in order to figure out what n is, we're going to have to set them up equal to each other, because they said that they have the same perimeters. If they have the same perimeters, then we can set the expressions up equal to each other. So that's what I'm doing right now. Here is rectangle 1, here is rectangle 2. So in order to solve for n, first we need to get all the variables on one side of the equation. It doesn't matter whether you move 4n or 6n. I'm choosing to move 4n just because I can. So now we have 1 2/10 equals 2n plus 2/10. Now in order to get n by itself, we have to subtract 2/10 from both sides. So now we have 2n equals 1. Now in order to get n by itself, we divide by 2 on both sides. If you plug into your calculator 1 divided by 2, think about what 1/2 is as a decimal. It is 5/10. And you say, okay, that's my answer, 5/10. No, they wanted to know what the perimeter of each of these rectangles would be. So now that we know n, we have to go back and plug it into our original formula. So I'm just going to use number 2 right here. Okay, it says 6n plus 2/10. That would be the whole perimeter. So we're going to say 6 times 5/10 plus 2/10. So now if you multiply 6 times 5/10, you're going to get 3 plus 2/10. Well, 3 plus 2/10 gives you 3 2/10. Therefore, the perimeter of both of them is 3 2/10 since their perimeters are the same. Well, we're going to practice this some more in class. I know you're probably feeling a little overwhelmed. Just remember that we're going to practice some more, and you will have an opportunity then to practice on your own. Have a good one.